welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Zachary Patton Garcia.
I'm Kimberly Southwick Thompson.
I'm Philip Ellis.
I'm Summer Bishil.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and welcome to Angel Episode 0. I want to thank all of you for doing this. I know that I've had a lot of recordings for the upfront of Angel, and all of y'all have been fucking wonderful. My brain is currently fried. I was up till 4 a.m. doing a video, but I got it out there. Very proud of it. There's an intro video if anyone wants to watch, where I introduce all the co-hosts. Today I have 4 with me, but also there will be Dana Piccoli, Ryan Houlihan, Crystal from Drag Race UK, Ian Martin from Passion of the Nerd, Gabe Gonzalez, and I think that's everyone.
And Charisma Carpenter herself.
Yeah, and everyone kind of chatted about their like favorite things in the intros, but I figured we would go over that in an episode format. I don't know about all of y'all, but I was a tough sell on Angel at first, but then I ended up loving it. It was like once season 4 aired, I knew Buffy season 7 was the last season. I was like, all right, let me get into the show. And that's when I like started taping it on VHS, and then I would buy the DVDs as they came out. I do think season 1 is a little rough, but I think it's worth it to go through it. Because also I'm a completionist. Like even if it's like, oh, that's not that best of a season, still watch it.
What do you think is rough about it?
I think so. I am not that big on like Law and Order type shows, and it feels very Law and Order. And I feel like they don't realize how good it is to have an ensemble until later on. Cause like, Charisma is so great as Cordelia, and Cordelia is always such a breath of fresh air. Even Doyle is like a breath of fresh air in some of these episodes, but we focus so much on Angel and him being angsty and like whoever the new character is of the episode. And I don't like that. Like I used to watch Doctor Who religiously, and they did that too often where I'd be like, I'm just like a hard sell on like a character we meet for one episode and never see again. And
I like how you said it was a little dark, because just like even rewatching the beginning of it for the first time, I was like, this theme music is like Buffy but depressed. Yeah. And that's really like the feel of the first couple episodes for me of like season 1, And I don't think that's not where they wound up, that's just how it started.
Right.
I think that was a conscious decision on their part, though, wasn't it? That they wanted to make something that was so different in style and in sensibility to Buffy. Like this was the older, sort of grimier sibling. It's in the big city. It's like got this sleazy noir vibe. Like, you've got sort of a lot more casual references to sex and drugs and just sort of like adult situations than you have in this show that, when it started, the characters were all 16. Right. And I think to begin with, that's jarring because I think they're trying a little bit too hard to tell us that this is the grown-up show. And then they do find their footing. And I agree in the sort of the procedural style. I mean, I love a noir. I love a detective story. But they were, I think, to begin with, too self-contained and too... I don't like a show where it hits the reset button at the end of the episode. And I feel like, in season 1, basically until they hit like the back half when you get much more of Wolfram and Hart and then Faith comes back and you get all that good stuff. But yeah, those first few episodes, I rewatched the pilot just before coming on to record. And the story with like the wannabe actress who just wants to go home, but then she's being like harassed by this vampire. I just oh my God, I'm so bored. I don't care. Just when is Cordelia showing up?
I know. Also, like, same girl, same. I get it. No, but it was like the network had these conversations of like, okay, we'll do it, but it's a procedural, and it's for the adults. Like, it was just very clear that they had those conversations and made those decisions. And it kind of stifled the character of the show for a while.
Yeah. I wonder if that was like, to get the show made, they just wanted it to be so different, And like, I almost feel like, and I mean, I don't know, Summer, you probably would know better than I do. Is it easier to sell a show that is more procedural than it is like serialized? Is that an easier sell for like a network?
I feel like in the early 2000s with a vampire, like I feel like Buffy was probably so outside of the box and thought of as so niche, like successful, but probably so niche and like the broad, like culture of television at that point.
Yeah.
And I feel like procedurals are probably much more reliable to like market and commodify and have people watch. It probably felt so much more stable to make it more like that. And probably back in the day to have a male lead.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's funny. I don't know. I can't remember. Have any of you, I don't know if I've mentioned this to any of you before. Have any of you watched Veronica Mars?
No.
No, I want to.
Okay. Well, Veronica Mars did like something like this in season 1, where like there is an overarching mystery, but there's one-offs. But the thing they did, which I loved, and now I'm always looking for shows that like present as procedurals to do this, is like as we got deeper into the overarching mystery, a lot of the one-offs came back and were important to that, like her figuring out what happened. And like, you know, like Leighton Meester plays a one-off character and she comes back for the final 2 episodes because she's like important to whatever the mystery is. And there's a couple of characters like that where it's like you had to be paying attention because she is revisiting these mysteries she solved throughout the season. And I always think that's a really smart way to do a procedural, so that like it is important, but like also if you miss the finale, then it doesn't matter. What do we think of season 1 overall? What would you say, Philip, are the strong points of season 1?
I mean, I think it was incredibly ballsy, and it did ultimately pay off that they killed off one of the 3 only main characters so early. I remember that being such a shock at the time, because you'd come to love this character so quickly. He is just, charm and charisma personified, and then having that sort of snipey relationship between him and Cordelia, and to have that sort of, just as they're on the verge of maybe becoming something more, it's taken away, which is, I know that, he who must not be named, that's like his one trick that he's pulled out so many times that it's no longer remotely interesting. But at the time, it was the first time he'd done it. So that moment, and then bringing in Wesley. Yeah. And I think ultimately it's a bit like spin-off syndrome, where it's like, oh, we're just going to keep referring to this other show that we've come out of. So we're going to bring back Wesley. We're going to have Buffy show up multiple times in season 1, which I actually think was probably to its detriment. But having Faith come back, on the other hand, it just could I was rooting for her to become a main character on that show because she fit into it so well. It gave Eliza Dushku so much more interesting, cool stuff to do. It was the dynamics were so much more complex. So yeah, I think the Faith stuff in season 1, and then as you got more and more into the Wolfram and Hart mythology and the prophecy and stuff, basically when they decide we're going to stop being a detective noir show and we're going to become serialized high fantasy, because that's what the fans want. That's when I'm like, yeah, okay, you hit your stride. And then season 2 onwards, it's great.
Yeah, because even season 2 is a little, at points, him and Darla are being a little too angsty together, but even bringing Julie Benz was such a good idea because she is so fucking good. And I really like their dynamic of even if she's evil, Angel still kind of cares about her, but he knows she's evil. But I kind of like it being I'm always interested in a story with exes who have to be together, not be together relationship wise, but are just having to coexist together. That's why I did like Buffy and Angel's relationship in season 3, where when she's this is my last office romance, which was a lie. And them having to work together and fight together, even though they're not together. I'm always interested in that kind of story. And Darla is just so interesting that I feel she also makes Angel more interesting, seeing how he reacts to her. But yeah, Kim, what do you think of season 1?
When I was kind of going back through it, it seemed like so many of the things that I remembered happened in season 1, and I was like, oh man, Doyle died season 1. I just feel like they do a good job, I guess, fleshing out things that are gonna be important later on in a way, introducing certain characters. We get Gunn at the very end kind of thing. That it just feels like they were there all along when we get to the rest of it, if that makes sense. I was literally shocked rereading that Doyle dies in season 1. I was like, how is that possible?
I actually forgot that Gunn does come in at the end of season 1. I thought it was the beginning of season 2, but yeah, it's he has that one episode and then he comes back for the finale too. And we interviewed that actor, J. August Richards, after he had come out. And he actually said he was the WB had a diversity rule, and that's the only reason they hired him. But then they really liked him, so he got bumped up to a main cast member. And it's like wild to think that like that was like a mandate, but like he is great and like adds to the cast. It's like they were slowly realizing with him, and then there's even like the millionaire dude, David Nesbitt, who they're like, oh, we gotta build more characters. I wonder what that writer's room was like, because the first half of the season is so unbalanced. But Summer, what do you think? What do you think of it?
Of the first season? I mean,
Yeah.
I also loved when Darla finally came in. Like season 2, when all of that unfolds, I was just like, oh my God, the show is so like I was as into it as I was Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, I mean, once they start bringing some of that world that you like met Angel from into the show, it made more sense to me. But I also agree with the killing off of Doyle. To me, I thought was a huge mistake. It's like we invested so thoroughly in him. I did, at least, so quickly when watching it. And he was so good and he brought so much to the show, and it would have been such a great ensemble with him. And he just goes away. And it was almost like the show like introduced a new show and then reintroduced itself without him. And it was just kind of like, what happened there? I don't really know what happened there. I haven't really like looked into it too much, but it felt very disjointed and odd to me to kill Doyle off when they did.
I did read, and this is just what I've read, and I do remember hearing this before, that like he had like he was like going through some like addiction issues, and that just like it wasn't like they were like having issues working with him, so that's why they killed his character off, and that they had intended to bring him back at some point as like to give him an arc of like a villain or something like that, but then the actor passed away.
Oh God.
Because like it is weird what you said. Like I do agree with you. It almost feels like they reset, because like we don't mention him. It feels like we don't mention him again, right?
Until the series finale, I think, where there's one, they basically name drop everyone who's died, and that's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was screen recording the finale, I was like, I got to that part when is it Adam Baldwin is like listing people that died. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they really have killed so many people. Zach, what do you think of like what you remember from watching season 1?
Okay, so I should have watched the whole season before we even started, but I want to be fresh while we're recording. So season 1 in my mind is the very first episode, because I've seen it so many damn times. Is Buffy back twice?
Yeah.
Okay, Buffy's 2 episodes, Faith's episodes, Doyle dying, and then Cordelia with the ghost, Cordelia getting pregnant, all of the Cordelia stuff, right? And then that's it. So like, it's like, I don't know, it's like 7 episodes or so in my mind that I really am trying to remember what y'all are talking about. And I didn't even remember that Darla came in this season. I remember Darla, but is it like this soon that she comes in?
No,
when does Connor come in?
No, that's season 2, yeah?
It's the end of the season 1 finale. It's like, that's like the cliffhanger it ends on, is like you realizing that she's come back.
Okay.
Because the funny thing is, it's like Wolfram and Hart does a spell and they don't tell you what it is, but then the kicker at the end is it's Darla.
Okay, but she's not staking herself in an alley at the end of this.
No.
No. Okay, I thought we were like speeding through this, and I'm like, shit. Then I have no idea what happens in the rest of the series. I don't know. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to watch it for the first time.
Darla, it's funny because I remember watching that with Jason Sullivan, who's one of the other co-hosts, and I remember at the end of Angel season 1, and they like have that kicker, and I looked at him and I was like, do you not remember who that is? He was like, who the hell's that woman? That's not Buffy, right? And I was like, it's Darla. It's a big deal.
So I think I watched it very differently than you did, Ian, because obviously I did, because I watched it on Netflix immediately after finishing Buffy. And I remember like always having to contact you about like, oh, who is so-and-so or what's this and stuff. So I think it'll be an interesting experience for me now that I'm way closer to the Buffyverse watching it, and I'll kind of like know stuff. So that's, I don't know, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this show I don't know. Like Buffy, I can, recite every episode name in order and like pick out by like an outfit. what if like someone shows me a screenshot, it's like, oh, I know that episode. But with Angel, I don't know it that well.
Oh my gosh, are we going to have to pick out Angel's, all of his black wardrobe? Are we going to have to like pick out specific pieces and favorites?
That's what Cordelia is there for, don't
That's perfect.
And then oh my god, when Gwen Raiden comes in like 4 years' time, if we ever get there.
Cordelia just gives us all the content that we need.
My favorite outfit's just Angel's trench coat, like every time.
In the first episode, he's wearing this really nice, like black sweatshirt, and I wish they would have just done a wardrobe similar to that instead of sticking him in that black trench coat, because the black trench coat does nothing for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Zach there. And like I feel like because sometimes he'll wear like a coat that's not like a trench coat, and that's like if it's like because I think in the second episode he's wearing like a leather looking blazer. And while that's not like my favorite, like that's better for me than a trench coat. I don't know. The trench coat.
Do
just
they
doesn't,
ever
like,
dress him up in like a Sherpa jacket or something? Like give him some like, I don't know, some really nice like swanky clothes.
In season 5, they dropped the trench coat and they'll put him in a lot of like nice button ups.
Okay.
Maybe in season 4. Summer, do you remember? I know 4 is like one of your favorites.
I pay attention so much to Charisma Carpenter's fashion that like Angels just becomes like a series of black billowy outfits.
Is anybody asking about Angel's wardrobe? Yeah. I think this is the most anybody has ever spoken about it.
Yeah.
It's just so black and billowy.
Yeah.
I have a theory about that though, having just rewatched the pilot, where they sort of made him like Philip Marlowe meets Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's wearing like a wire harness under that to do all the stunts, and they're just going to give him like bulky clothes to wear to kind of cover it.
Yeah, because I know, and even the Buffy season 7 costume designer, when we talked about End of Days and Chosen, he said how David Boreanaz brought his favorite trench coat to wear. And
David
like
Boreanaz already had a trench coat?
Right. He like his favorite Angel outfit he brought. And then like whoever the costumer was didn't realize that it was only one of each and like ripped up one of them to be on the wire. And that was like the shirt he took from Angel.
I just picture him like very posh spy standing in front of a mirror like, am I going to wear the little Gucci dress, or the little Gucci dress? It's all the same black sweater, all the same black trench coat.
God, that's not too far off from me. I'm like, what black t-shirt am I going to wear?
Yeah.
All right. So what are some of your favorite episodes of Angel?
I mean, as a couple of us have already said, any of the Faith arcs, so 5x5 and Sanctuary, and then Salvage, Calvary, and Orpheus in season 4. I love how really gritty and weird and dark those episodes get. I love, like with Buffy, I like a lot of episodes that sort of kind of basically stop and break the fourth wall or break format. So Smile Time, I'm really looking forward to revisiting that one because I haven't watched that. I haven't watched season 5 all the way through in years. And then like just the little episodes where like Harmony comes back. Just basically like whenever Buffy comes back, I'm like, oh, I don't care at all. What is this heterosexual nonsense? But whenever we're reminded that there is a wider world and any other character return, I'm like, yes, this is what I want.
Yeah. All the gay moments.
Yeah, it's funny. Crystal, in her intro video, when she was like talking about her favorite Buffy episode, she was like naming them. She's like, when Willow goes evil, when Buffy and Faith fight, all the gay shit. And then like for her Angel, it was like, when Cordelia goes evil, when Faith comes back, the gay shit. And I feel like that's like kind of accurate.
We're so predictable.
I know.
But that's where it shines, right? They're trying to make this such like, this is the man's show. This is the show to get the Buffy boy fans. But, the gays don't care about all of the angel brooding and, jumping off of a building and stuff like that. Bring Faith in to do a high kick and I'm off my seat.
I came to Angel because I was reliably informed that he was going to have his shirt off once an episode.
He did the first episode. I'll give him credit for that one. What about the rest of them?
I mean, it gets less and less frequent as sort of time goes on.
There is that one moment in season 5 that sticks in my brain of the Halloween episode when he's like, you see him coming out of the shower, and I give him credit because I think he looks good as like a twink in season 1 of Buffy, and then he looks good when he got thicker in like season 5 of Angel. Like, I think
you notice his hair got thicker too as he got thicker.
Do we think that's like a hairpiece?
I think no. I think in season 5 he like grows it out. He has like quarantine hair.
That's very true.
It's like they after like between Buffy and Angel, after like a decade of him having identical like gelled boy band spikes, they were like, let's mix it up.
Angel season 5. I need to see his hair. This is not a hairpiece. It cannot be.
No, right? I don't know. Summer, what do you think? You work on TV shows.
I mean, I don't know. People always thought I had hair pieces or extensions in, and I was like, is that a thing?
You never did on The Magicians?
No, I just have a shit ton
Ian's
of hair.
one of those people who thought it.
Like, my dad's just Saudi Arabian, I'm just fucking hairy. But people do wear, like, there was a lot of that in the trailer. I don't know who's wearing it, but people wear hair pieces.
Wigs laying around everywhere.
And there was always wigs. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, I would definitely be like, make my bun fuller and put like a few clips in it or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because I'm always bad at being able to tell, unless it's like Marvel where the wigs are pretty horrendous. I'm usually bad at being able to tell.
Unless like just to go back to something I don't like about this show is anytime they do a flashback and they put Angel and Darla and Spike in the most horrendous Party City wigs.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm going to be Irish again
I'm disappointed he's not doing the Irish accent this entire season. And going back to Los Angeles, he should go full Irish accent.
That accent is so horrendous. I don't know why they just didn't cut it, right? You don't have to do it. And
every time he does it, he has like a half smile on his face. It's like really weird, and his face twists.
He's pleased with himself. He's like, I spent half an hour with the vocal coach. I got this. I'm so proud of myself.
He's probably still doing that Irish accent on SEAL Team, whatever.
Oh my god! I just remembered I did wear a bunch of hair. For one, there was one episode, and it killed me. It gave me such a bad fucking headache. I was like, I'm never doing that again. Your freaky hair out of here.
Wait, when did you have to wear a wig?
I didn't have to wear a wig. They put in a little extra hair for some episode where I was like moon-brained. And I had this crazy high ponytail, and it was like froed out, and it was gorgeous. It looked gorgeous, and they added hair to make it just look extra special.
Oh wait, Summer! I literally just when there was like the eclipse, I was like, what am I going to watch that night? And I put on the episode with the like time loop. But I know exactly what you're talking about. That hair that's like crimped out.
Yes. Oh my god, it was like weighing me the fuck down. I was like, I'm not wearing pieces ever again.
That's funny. I love that. Like after telling us I've never done it, you're like, oh wait.
I know. Goes back.
Well, because I was trying to think. I was like, did we? Who did? Why and when?
The past 5 minutes. That's all she's been thinking about.
I'm like texting the hair.
She's like, wait, that wig that I stepped on in the makeup trailer, was that my
wig? God. Kim, what are some of your favorite episodes?
I will put in for Smile Time as well, just because it feels unique.
It is fun, yeah.
As something that, I just remember what it looks like. I don't remember what happens, so I'm excited to revisit it. Of course, I need basically any Drusilla episode, but Reunion in particular.
Is Reunion the one where she first comes back, or is that where they're like causing chaos and like going to the mall and shit?
I believe it's chaos.
Yeah, I do like that. I almost wish Drusilla had been longer in that season. It's like very weird that she's only in, I think, like 2 or 3, because she's really good on it.
I agree. I think I remember talking to you about how I was like, when is she coming back?
Yeah.
And like she wasn't, or she wasn't coming back as often as I wanted. That was one of my disappointments for sure with Angel. And then I love Lorne. Am I allowed to love Lorne as much as I love Lorne? So I love Spin the Bottle.
Oh, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. I feel like for a show that is aggressively straight with the David Boreanaz of it all, like it gets camp right a lot of the time with characters like Lorne.
Because Lorne also could be like, I feel like with lesser writing, he would be a fucking stupid character, but he's not. He's like, he's good, and that actor's really good, and like he's just like a fun character. He like his energy is a lot like Cordelia's, where it like brightens up the scene having him in there.
Yeah, and he's not a one-trick character. Like, he's, like, very, like, you'd expect maybe a character like him, considering what's been said about him, to be kind of, like, one note, but he's not at all. He's, like, very layered.
Yes, and I kind of like, I mean, it's not really confirmed, but he does, like, feel queer, and I like that it's, like, you know, like, he'll jokingly flirt with, like, Angel or, like, Spike, and I like that shit.
Yeah.
Because also that feels real. Like, the gay demon might be flirting with the like hot vampires. I would too.
Listen, if I had to put up with Angel's nonsense, I would just flirt 24 hours a day for my own amusement, because I know that would have made him uncomfortable.
Like, well, we're here, so I'm going to flirt with you because at least you're hot.
I don't think there's much that makes him comfortable, though. I think everything pretty much makes him uncomfortable.
That's true. Yeah. Summer, what are some of your favorite episodes?
The Darla episodes, I loved it just because it went so far into her history and background, and you didn't get to see that in Buffy, really. I really loved that part of the show. I loved Doyle. I also really like Lorne.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him.
Of course you do, Summer.
Yeah, he's such a good singer, and I read something that was just really, like, he passed away really young. It was just the circumstances sounded really unfortunate. But anyway, I don't know specific episodes. Like I can't recall one off the top of my head, but I remember like being so into the episodes where they really talked about Angel and Darla's backstory and Drusilla and Spike. And I loved it when Spike came on. I guess I loved it whenever it felt like it was merging with Buffy more, because I expected to see more of Buffy in it and to see more of that like cohesive transition, and there just wasn't. So anytime it did feel like old characters like Faith coming, I liked it. I really remembered those episodes.
Yeah, and I do think, I mean, you've all said it, but I do think Faith is great on Angel. Like, she gets, they give her more room to, like, have character development. And, like, I'm not that big on season 4, but I do think her 3-episode arc in season 4 is, like, some of the best Angel stuff. And it's her episode. She's, like, the star of them. But she's great. And, like, you know, when they let her get, like, she kind of loses to Angel, and they, like, show her showering, and she's, like, punching the wall. Like, that's not a thing we get to see either of the Slayers do, like, being upset about this, like, failure. And I kind of just liked being able to see that. And Faith, like, Eliza Dushku, it feels like she really shines on Angel.
Can we get into this real quick? Okay, so they gave Angel his own show. We already know it's to get the boys in, right? But this also was the perfect palette for her, where she should have at least been approached to be a main character on the show, or just give her the damn show, right? Like, why was she not given this show?
Yeah, where was the Faith spinoff? It seemed odd, because she was so popular.
I think she didn't want to do it, right? That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think after Angel, or after Buffy ended, that was like the spinoff that He Who Shall Not Be Named proposed to Eliza was her on like a bike, kind of like solving like demon things, but like Ghost Spike would have been with her. But then she didn't want to do it, so then they put Ghost Spike on Angel.
Sounded very like Midnight Texas to me, is the pitch.
I would be into it.
Yeah, but like they could still do that, you know? She could still come back and do that. I know it'd be a harder get to do Sarah, but they could get Elisha Discu for, I don't know, maybe like 8 episodes of something.
Right? Like a cool HBO Max like series or something.
Yeah, get her punching some more walls, man.
Zach, I know you have a limited knowledge, but what are some of your favorite?
The ones I just listed. Cordelia, the Ghost episode is probably one of my favorites of the season. Like, and I love the Faith episodes, and I love when Buffy comes back, but the Ghost episode was so fun. And when I remember it, and when I would watch, I remember the first time I watched it was on TNT, and I remember like being obsessed with it. And I think that was one of the episodes that there were a few episodes that made me buy the first season. But that was one of the episodes that did it, because I really wanted to watch that episode again, because it felt like, I don't know, it was one of those sort of standalone episodes that, it's just really fun. And we love Cordelia, and it's got a ghost, and it's got a body buried, bricked up in a wall. It was just perfect.
Do you know what's funny about that episode is I always misremember the conceit of why Dennis is a ghost.
Yeah.
And in my brain, because it feels very like that woman that plays like the evil ghost mom, she always plays like, the uptight mean lady on a lot of shit. And I remember her from Donnie Darko. And I always, in my brain, I remember it as, because it feels like this would fit Cordelia, that Dennis was gay and the mother was like homophobic.
Well, it's very like, yeah. And it's very Cask of Amontillado,
Yeah.
It just, I think that was, I remember when I read that in school, I was like, that's Angel. That's an Angel episode. What are you, Edgar Allan who?
He ripped off Angel.
I don't know. I was super into that episode though. I would have watched it as many times as I could. And then, every other episode that she has like a standout part in. When she gets pregnant, I thought that was fucking wild. I was blown away by that. I didn't know what the hell was happening. And then, who doesn't love a Buffy and Faith fight? And if they can move that into an Angel show, I'll watch that whole scene 20 times over.
I think the Buffy and Faith fights always work for me. Like,
even if they're stupid, even if the context around them is stupid, right?
Yes.
Because I love their stunt work together. I think their stunt work together works so well.
Zach, thank you for knowing exactly why I was stumbling.
I don't like the context either. But I still love to see them like flipping around and like punching each other.
My like fried brain was stammering on. Do I say? But I don't love the content.
They make a really great like stunt scene together.
Yeah, they really do. And like their fights are always pretty like emotionally charged because like their history and like they were very close, but like.
But then you get Angel yelling at Buffy, and it's like I know I'll get heated during that too. But Buffy already lived in Los Angeles. Angel.
Yeah,
like you don't get dominion over Los Angeles, right? Her dad is somewhere there. We don't ever address that in Angel, but Buffy's dad is somewhere in Los Angeles.
It's one of those things where, like, because Buffy the show, our narrator and the lens through which we're seeing everything is Buffy, so we're so much more inclined to take her side. And because this is the show where this is from Angel's point of view, that means the writing has to kind of cast Buffy more as like the bitchy ex. And it just like, it never fits. But just for the purpose of the show, I mean, like, this is Angel's show. We have to show that he's in the right and be on his side. So that means that like we have to have Buffy be like way meaner and harsher than she actually would be in her own series.
The guys don't accept it. They don't. We reject that.
From just listening to y'all talk about this, I feel like everybody hates Angel, but we like everything else about the show.
Angel is the least interesting thing about his own show.
He's the least interesting to look at.
He is the Cordelia and Faith delivery system.
Yeah.
I am going to give him a chance, though. I didn't mind him in the first episode when I watched it back just the other day.
And I do think Angel gets a little bit, he gets more interesting as the show goes on. Ryan Houlihan said at our last live show how David Boreanaz is like, he's kind of on a learning curve here with like getting into the Angel character and the like acting and stuff. But I do like him. Like I definitely love season 5 Angel. Like I love that Angel.
I think he really hits his stride when they figure out how to introduce humor into this series, because it starts out so dark and po-faced because he's on a mission of redemption and it's an LA noirish, sort of grim. And it's once they let him be a little bit silly, I can't remember which season 1 episode it is, but it shows him like just being really awkward at a party and like being very bad at dancing.
Right. Yeah.
And just like silly little moments like that. It's like, oh, he's just like, he's all like serious, but actually he's a fucking nerd.
So I read something, and it was just a little sentence, and it was about how there was originally supposed to be a different, very, very early season 1 episode where Angel like tasted some murder victim's blood or something.
Yeah.
It seems like early on, like one of the plot lines they're going for is like, how is this good vampire going to get blood? But then it seems like they completely abandoned that. It's like all of a sudden he's got a stash of True Blood, sitting around, and he's just using that.
That's one we need to be covering.
Right? Oh, that would be great. Anyway, yeah. So I was curious, like, I'd love to see the script of this episode that the network never let them air. They were like too dark. But I wonder if, like, in his head, like, he still had, like, this character in mind, and then the network kind of toned down that darkness, and it just took him a while to lighten up? ?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Summer, you've worked on a show. I mean, I guess you were on Sci-Fi, so it was maybe a little different. They weren't as strict, right?
I don't remember a lot of like network involvement as far as like having a creative idea that couldn't happen because someone said no to it. I think it was pretty like collaborative and open, but also like I was acting, you know, I don't know what was pitched. I just know what got to us in the script. So
yeah, that's fair.
I have no idea how those scripts got to us, but I don't ever remember being or feeling like I couldn't make my character as out there as I wanted or try as many different things as I wanted. Like there was nobody ever saying no to like playing and experimenting and doing things as boldly as we felt like we wanted to on the day.
But even with like Margot and Elliot, I feel like they weren't as like weren't used as much as like I feel like the writers maybe were like, oh, these are two fucking great actors, and so then they like gave you guys more to do. Yeah, right. So I feel like that like shows kind of do that, right? Where they discover, ooh, this character works, let's use them more.
Yeah, like season 1, I didn't work a lot.
Yeah.
And I knew that was my deal. Like I knew that I was 10 out of 13 and that by season 2 I would be 13 out of 13. Like when I signed up for the pilot, I knew that I would do 13 out of 13 by season 2. But I knew, but I knew that season 1 would be less work. So yeah, I mean, they definitely built it. It didn't happen right away. But that's the cool thing about Angel that I really like. It's like all the characters that you didn't get enough time with because they weren't like the leads of the show necessarily. And like the show had to be built in Buffy. You get to see so much more of an Angel. Like you do get to see Faith do cool stuff that you wish you had seen in Buffy. And like I said, like with Darla, and like you just see more of Cordelia and her journey in this is like insane. And you would have never seen that on Buffy.
Yeah. Right. It is weird because you do love her by season 3 of Buffy. And Kim, you said this in your intro video, like you do love her, but like she just has such better development on Angel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. She's given that room and I mean, that writing, and she kills it, obviously.
Yeah, she was like finally given stuff to do, and it was like, yes.
Yeah, and it's so funny because when we interviewed her, she even said that they all just were constantly worried that Angel like wasn't going to be picked up like every season. They were like, oh, this is a season where we're not going to like get to like do it again, and like she was always nervous about. Okay, well, will they bring me back to Buffy if Angel gets, and that was what she made them promise when she signed on to do Angel, that if season 1 didn't like go to a full season or like got canceled, that was like her one thing, was that she made them promise they would let her go back to Buffy.
That's smart.
Yeah, right. That is pretty smart. I don't know that I feel like
do you believe that? Do you think that was written, or do you think that was just a like verbal promise? That. Yeah, because I don't know if I would believe them.
That is true. I do know that she's
got it in writing.
I mean, she did say she would only come back if they didn't kill Cordelia, and they said okay, and then
that'd be a good question to reach out to her about, honestly. Yeah.
Well, technically, I guess. No, you're right. She does die.
Yeah, she does. She dies.
But not in this season, which is a beautiful season for Cordelia.
So, speaking of, Buffy characters who come into Angel and have sort of completely transformative arcs, I'd be really interested to hear what everyone thinks of Wesley.
I am curious what everyone thinks. I'll go first because I do like his arc, but for me, while Cordelia's feels completely organic, and I know people love Wesley's arc, and I do think it's good, but it doesn't quite feel organic to me. It feels like we're doing a new character with the same actor sometimes. Like season 1, he's still very Wesley, but once he takes that turn, it feels like it's just a different character. Like he even drops like any form of accent most of the time. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I was surprised having, grown to like his character on Angel. I was surprised when we went back through Buffy and Slayerfest how many people didn't like Wesley and Buffy.
Yeah.
So I guess that means that, I didn't really have a problem with him. I'm interested to rewatch and see what you're saying and determine if I feel the same way.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
And, I might even rewatch for the podcast and be like, nope, I'm wrong. It did feel organic, Because this isn't a show I rewatch as often as I rewatch Buffy. Summer, what do you think of it?
I mean, I like him. I like he's such a good actor and he's likable and all of that. But I was still, because Wesley didn't really come into like season 2, right?
He comes in halfway through this season when they kill Doyle.
Yeah. See, I was like grieving the Doyle loss. Like, I loved Doyle. It made no sense to me that Doyle was killed off. So when they like introduced him, I was still on the Doyle tip. So it took me a while to get used to Wesley, because we also didn't have a lot of him in Buffy. And he was like, he was rather annoying in Buffy. Like, his intentions were annoying.
Right.
The actor was not, but the intentions of the character.
Yeah, you're right. The character was supposed to be annoying.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like in Angel, right after somebody, like a character that I just adored, was like killed off for seemingly no reason. Like, I just couldn't. It took me so long to adjust to Doyle's absence. It was a hard blow.
Summer.
I loved it.
Philip, I'm curious what your answer is.
So yeah, I think in season 1, I was like, what are they doing? Bringing it, and it was like a fun sort of like introduction where you think he's become this, had this kind of makeover as a rogue demon hunter, and then it turns out like he's basically just doing drag, and it's all a big joke. And then I think it's when we meet Fred and have that relationship in season 3 and then 4, like, and also like the stuff the stuff with Lila, where he gets to have lots of really sort of interesting shades of grey. But I think to begin with, it's like, oh, we've killed off this character who was full of like, pathos and bathos. And then we've kind of brought back this other character now that we've killed off Doyle as kind of a joke to fill in the role of somebody who, sort of bickers with Cordelia and plays second fiddle to Angel. But over the entire run of the show, I think it is an arc that's, and you said, Ian, I haven't rewatched this in so long, but I'm interested to see whether that holds up, because like Kimberly said, like a lot of the least memorable stuff about Angel is Angel, but I really remember the relationship with Lila, where it's having that 6 feet under moment where he's having to like decapitate the body to make sure she doesn't come back as a vampire, and her like she's talking to him in his head, and just like the really kind of like weird like slightly BDSM relationship that they have. And then like the Fred romance, and just I'll be interested to see whether that holds up, because like it's what I think of when I think of like season 3 and 4. I think a lot of like the Wesley stuff.
Yeah, I feel like, and even with Buffy, I think I said this when we were covering season 7. Like, even with Buffy, when I watch season 7, I do feel differently about Buffy, like almost every time I watch it. Like, whether I think she's in the right or she's in the wrong, or like maybe I feel like this for the podcast, I felt kind of like in the middle, where I could see why people were getting pissed at her, but also I could see why she was getting harsh because she was getting pissed. And I kind of like that about these shows, that I can, like, depending on where I'm at when I'm watching, I can feel kind of differently about the characters' actions and like reactions to shit.
You're like a true television critic, Ian, because that's how I feel about like poetry and literature. Seriously, like, I can read something and it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I can still sort of analyze it from a bunch of different perspectives. Every time I read it, I can like learn something new about it. So, yay!
Ooh, look at that! Look at that compliment, Jim. I like that. So I also want to talk about, what do we all feel about Angel and Cordelia? Summer and I have kind of talked about this. I very much, when it aired, I was like, no, Angel can't love Cordelia. He has to love Buffy forever. But again, with Cordelia, their relationship feels very adult and organic. And it's nice to see it develop over the course of like, by season 3 is when it's like, okay, you're getting the, like, they do feel for each other. And I hate that it never got to happen. I do think You're Welcome, the context to You're Welcome isn't great, but I do think You're Welcome is like a fucking fantastic episode. And like the way Charisma delivers the final Cordelia lines are just so good. And like, when she goes to leave the office and she's like, oh, like, never mind, let me do this. And like turns around and kisses him, makes me cry every single time. And I do think their chemistry was like pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's the kind of chemistry that comes from knowing somebody, and having that. I feel like if Buffy the show is high school and Angel is adulthood, Cordelia and Angel is a much more equal, respectful relationship where they've really like learned to have each other's backs and communicate, and that's because they were friends first.
Yeah.
Whereas Buffy and Angel, it was always this sort of starry-eyed, star-crossed lovers romance where we were being told more than shown that they were in love. Whereas over the course of like 3 and a bit years, I guess, in Angel, we just watch it. And then you see the characters around them watch it happening and they're both in denial. I also think, though, the reason it works is because we never actually see them be a couple.
That's fair.
Does that not happen?
No, I thought you knew that, Zach. Yeah.
They are. There's a few moments where they're on the verge of getting together and then something happens.
I think I'm out. I quit.
Yeah, Kim, what do you think? I know you like them, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, though, that was just made, that like we never really get to see them. The whole once you get together thing, things get annoying quickly a lot of times with characters, but the kind of dance that they get to play and really have like develop love for each other, I think is what makes it so good. I'm most curious what your mom thinks of it, though, Ian.
Listen, my mom, she probably, I think she liked it because my mom always like loved Cordelia no matter what. Like Cordelia and Spike and Buffy are the characters to my mother that like the three of them do no wrong. And they're always right. But yeah, no, I think of their like training moment when they're like training with the swords, and it's like kind of sexy, right? And they don't even kiss. It's just like they're very close and you can feel the like intimacy and you feel the tension, which is impressive. And I'm sure mostly on Charisma's end, because it's like they're training to fight. We see plenty of people training to fight on this fucking show. And it doesn't feel like, ooh, are they going to kiss? But that is like, I remember being the first time I realized, ooh, they do have good chemistry. Zach, wait, so you did think they actually officially got together?
I just didn't even think about it. I think I did. I think I expected it to happen at some point. And I knew they wouldn't have been together for very long, but there's such big gaps in my memory from season to season that I was sure that it had to have happened at some point, and I'm a little disappointed now. Because I get it. We do get this dance, and there's like, they develop their relationship and all of that, but 5 seasons and there's nothing?
Well, 3.
Because 4 is...
So we're just cutting it down now. We just keep cutting me off. I do really like them together. I like with Buffy and Angel. It was so doom and gloom for no fucking reason. Like it made zero sense why it was so dramatic between them. I mean, she was underage basically.
Right, yeah.
But with Angel and Cordelia, I do remember their moments being just so like kind of effortless, and they just kind of around each other. And that's the best relationship to have, right? As you're around somebody, you just enjoy their company, and it's not dramatic, It's not toxic. It's not hard. It's just easy, and it felt like that with them. But with Buffy and Angel, it felt like it was difficult all the time. There was always a problem. There was always something.
Yeah, and Philip, you kind of said this too with Buffy and Angel. Like we start with like them telling us, like it's almost like they're telling us that they're in love, but like, and I do think David Boreanaz and Sarah Michelle Gellar had good chemistry in their like moments where they needed to, but I do feel like the story didn't allow the relationship to breathe as much. It was kind of just like, ooh, they're kissing. Oh, now they're together. Ooh, they're like Romeo and Juliet, and then he leaves. David Boreanaz and Sarah Michelle Gellar had more chemistry in their behind the scenes photos than they did on screen. I can only think of a couple of really like amazing moments that I think of them together. Like when she's drawing on her little notebook. That's cute. That's so cute. And then it immediately turns into a big thing, and he's got to leave and break up with her, right? And it's just that's always how it was with them, and it was unbearable.
You're so right. Like every time we see Angel and Buffy kiss, Sarah Michelle Gellar is like furrowing her brow and looks like she's about to burst into ugly tears. Like that's not a good, happy, healthy relationship. That's not good.
Right.
Whereas with like Cordelia and Angel, they like each other. And I feel like Angel likes Cordelia in spite of himself because she is still at the start of the show very self-absorbed, very, superficial. But it's that influence on each other that has an improving effect. She is his connection to the human world. and he is, maybe the influence that kind of helps her become a bit more selfless. Whereas I don't feel like Buffy and Angel ever made each other better people.
Oh no, worse if anything. Does Angel ever make Cordelia cry? Because I will never forget. I think this is where my dislike for Angel came from, is when he made her cry and she was putting her head in Willow's lap and saying she couldn't breathe. I was like, I cannot breathe. 10-year-old me, I can't breathe. He never makes Cordelia cry, right? He never sends her into a tailspin like that.
I don't think so.
One of the moments actually that I remember from, I think it's the season 1 finale, is when she is given every vision all at once, and she has a complete breakdown, and he's carries her to hospital and says, "She's my family." And it's okay, it's season 1 took a long while to get going, but we're finally there.
I love that.
Yeah, I forgot about that moment, Philip. You're right, and I think even cuter is that she's out shopping for a present for Angel when that happens.
Yes, because she's oh, Angel's depressed. I need to give him a sense of connection. Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, no, they are meant to be together.
I love how she's such a boss bitch, but she's still herself, if that makes sense. She's still the Cordelia we remember and love, but plus total boss bitch eventual goddess.
Yeah. Summer, talk on that, because you played a character who also could have been misinterpreted as just shallow, but was full of fucking depth and strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the and I know that you did say you took some influence from Cordelia, right?
I definitely, when I was filming Magicians, by season 2 had started watching Buffy the show. Whenever anyone said, "Oh, Margot's like Cordelia," I was honored, but I didn't necessarily look to Cordelia or Cordelia's development in any conscious way for Margot. I just really appreciated the help I received from watching Buffy while I was shooting The Magicians for tone, for the stakes mixed with the humor and the supernatural world that I was playing in, and how to ground all of that. So that was very helpful just overall in tone. But I think for me, I just wanted to mean more. I wanted my work to matter. And and it mattered to me. So I think that helped me not come off as shallow. Because I don't think I'm shallow, you know what I mean? And I definitely didn't want to spend years of my life kind of participating in something that was. And I think had I played it that way as well, I don't think the creatives would have liked it either. There was never a conversation about how it should be played necessarily, but there was an unspoken understanding that Margot was somebody that we should respect, and that did have depth, and that these things were going to have payoff eventually. So as far as that, yeah. But I agree kind of with you guys about the Cordelia and Angel relationship. At first I was there's no way I can ever see him loving anybody but Buffy. And then it became so much more of a real adult, significant relationship with Cordelia and Angel. You really kind of, you saw the Buffy and Angel relationship put into perspective. And I don't know who said it right now, but she was underage. That was the other thing that you didn't realize watching it. I mean, this was an underage girl with a 100+ something vampire. And so inherently there was just so many inherent toxic elements to that relationship. And when you saw Cordelia and Angel together, you were like, oh, that's what an adult relationship should look like. It should be a friendship. And it was so unsatisfying to not see the reward of that relationship. And again, I'm just thinking about how angry I was to watch the destruction of that beautiful development they had done for Cordelia, because it was really extraordinary character development at the time for a woman on television, what they had done with that character. And then they sort of built this beautiful thing and then just smashed it to pieces very quickly. And it's just what, how could you have done that?
Summer, you're getting me so heated.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, why?
Yeah, it feels like, why waste all that, right? Like,
Why?
it's such wasted potential. And I can even remember watching the season 3 finale live.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, that was even back when I was still like not 100% sold on them, but being so fucking pissed the way it like destroyed, like even back then when I was like, you know, whatever age I was, like I think 19, watching it and being like, I don't even like them together, but I don't like this destruction of the relationship. Like, this fucking sucks, and being like pissed off, and it like ends on this cliffhanger, and then it's not quite resolved, right? Like, yeah, and it's just, and I can remember the urgency watching that, being like, no, I just want them to like have their moment, like, because even though back then I didn't love them together, I loved the characters. You know what I mean? Like, I still loved the characters, so I wanted them to get the like moment they deserve. That's kind of like how you and I feel about Wanda in Multiverse of Madness, Zach, right? Like, the destruction of all this like development and then not allowing the character to get the happiness they deserve.
Yep, that's Marvel. It's ridiculous.
So also I want to ask, what do we all feel about, so there's like, I think this is a boring love triangle, but I know some people really love it. The Fred, Wesley, Gunn love triangle.
I have been waiting for somebody to bring this up.
Speak on it.
It is so boring. I need writers all over the world. I know you're listening, Slayerfest 98. Love triangles are not interesting. They are like narrative, just like, I don't know. I don't know cars. It's like if you put like Coca-Cola in your engine. Like, it's not good. It's going to make things stop. It's boring. It's like heterosexual nonsense. If they were gay, they would just all have like a great, like they'd become a throuple. It's like problem solved. And it brings out the worst in all of the characters, because it makes Fred, like, it turns her back into like the passive sort of like nerdy wallflower that she starts out as, because she's just like so amazed that these two men are into her. It turns Wesley into like this very controlling, quite sort of like abusive figure. And it makes Gunn just like really jealous, and it's basically like, oh my god, it's Othello. I've just realized Joss Whedon thought he was doing fucking Othello. Ugh, no, I just hate it. I hate it.
Kim, what do you think of it?
I love Fred, and I hate that this is like such a thing that we're gonna have to talk about, you know, like, because her character to me is super interesting, and that whole story arc. Yeah, I think Philip said it best. It kind of brings out the worst in everybody.
Yeah, Summer.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of agree with what everyone's saying, but the Fred character was something that I never really connected to too much. Like, is that horrible to say?
No, that's fine.
I think she's an excellent actress. Like, I love her. Like, I love all the actors. It's not anything like that. It's just sometimes I connect to a character and sometimes I don't. And I never really connected to Fred.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of... Zach, are you even aware of the love triangle or not really?
Not really, no, but I like Fred.
Yeah, I do like Fred. I agree with you, Summer. I think Amy Acker is like really great, and like the way she makes you like care about Fred and like still care about Illyria at the end there is like pretty impressive, I think.
You know what? That's what I could not with. I'm like, who is Illyria? Like, what is happening?
I loved Illyria was the scythe of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was brought in way too late, and we didn't get enough of her.
I do think, I enjoyed Amy Acker as Illyria because, like you said, you know, she's a great actor. But it was, by that point, it was like, the man who runs all these franchises is sort of like running out of narrative tricks, because it's like, a woman who is in love and like about to, you know, have a happy ending with the man that she loves. She's gonna get killed off and also become a villain. So it's like, we've seen this, like, it's basically she's Willow and Tara in one.
God.
You know, she becomes the villain just like Cordelia did the season before. Spoiler alert, sorry. Right. It's just sort of like, and I like that if they were going to renew the show, that it would have become more of a split personality situation, and we would have got maybe some element of Fred back. But it was like, the way that it was done, it was like, okay, I'm enjoying the performance, and it was interesting to see an actor play a completely different character in the show. But I was like, we've seen these tricks before.
Yeah, that is fair. I have heard that argument a few times about like how a lot of the Buffyverse characters, it's like, oh, did they go evil? Shocking. Like that does happen a lot.
I love when they go evil. I love an
women.
evil moment. Their hair changes. They get a new outfit. Like, it's perfect. It always works for me.
And I just always think of, like, I didn't even love Fred and Wesley together. I didn't love that love triangle, but the Wesley's final moment, like, makes me sob when, like, Illyria's like, you want me to lie to you now? And turns back into, like, Fred. I'm like, ugh, like, just screen capping it. I was sobbing for, like, the anniversary of that episode. And I guess finally we'll talk about Wolfram and Hart. What do we think? I actually love Wolfram and Hart as, like, an over, like, I almost like that they're not the big bad of the season. They're just like a constant big bad. Like, I really like that, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it's a clever... Angel did clever things with the bad guys, right? Or even with the demons. Like how we get Lorne and he has a karaoke bar where, like, you aren't allowed to fight. And, like, I think that shit is clever. And I think Wolfram and Hart as a, like, plot device really works for me. And as a like, constant adversary, I like Lila. Lindsay and Angel have very weird, Jason Sullivan said in his intro video that he was really looking forward to talking about the sexual tension between Angel and Lindsay.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
the fan fiction I used to read about those two. Oh my God, it got so blue. And when I say read, I mean, of course, composed myself.
Summer, what do you think of, like, Lila and Lindsay and Wolfram and Hart in general as the, like, bad guys?
I think it's a clever use, and they introduce them right away. It's like very clear he knew what his plans were for that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting to have known that right away, because it's a presence throughout, and it's a good. It continues to be a good device throughout the series. I like Lindsay. I definitely like him. I liked him. I started liking him a little more season 2, obviously, because that's when they humanized him a little more. Yeah. Layla is like the super boss bitch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't with her. She's so mean. she's just so mean. It's like, stop being so awful. But then, doesn't she like leave Wolfram and Hart? Like they fuck her over, and then she has to like, where does she go? Like.
I think that's when her relationship with Wesley starts, and then she like gets unceremoniously murdered in season 4. I always would have liked because like at the end of season 4, she's like a ghost or whatever the hell she is when she brings them to Wolfram and Hart.
Yes.
I think it would have been cool if she had been like a reappearing like character that is like in her ghost form in season 5
and redeemed. I always thought she just like retired to Santa Barbara or something. I think you wrote all of that.
You like wrote some fan fiction in your brain, like, oh, now she's fine, retired lawyer.
She's living in the beach house next door to Grace and Frankie.
It's on the Wikipedia page now. Add it.
Zach, what do you think of Wolfram and Hart?
I'm into them. An organization is always a really hard sell for me. I'm either going to really like it or not at all. And I guess what would be similar to that in Buffy? What the Watchers Council? I guess I don't know. Just as an organization, I guess so, and I hate the Watchers Council, but I think Wolfram and Hart, the whole idea of them, and that they have their offices, and that they're kind of everywhere and spreading out, and their whole deal, and that we flesh them out a little bit more as an organization. I think it does work. And I'm excited to see, because I don't remember a whole lot of them other than season 5. So I'm excited to see how like permeated they are in the show.
That's fair. Yeah. Kim?
I think it's interesting how, if we think of the roots of all the villains, right? So when you're a teenager, it's like school. And then it's, I guess it's work when you're an adult in a way, but also, your local government. And I mean, it makes sense, right? So, sorry, I'm thinking of Buffy with like school and then the local government, so the principal and then the mayor or whatever. Right. Like those are the big bads. And I mean, it devolves from there, from my little theory. But in terms of like institutions, like when you're a real adult, like a law firm, an evil law firm seems like a good choice for a detective agency's, ultimate big bad. So I think it makes sense, and it helps Angel investigations kind of grow in a way as like a thing that exists, and it's an institution like on its own.
Yeah, no, I think that's because it could be too ham-fisted, but it doesn't feel ham-fisted here, right?
I think because it's presented as so prosaic and everyday, like they go to work, they carry briefcases, they wear suits, they look just like it looks like it could be, the set of Law and Order,
right?
And so it's sort of it's only as the show goes on that you realize just how sort of corrupt and evil they are. And I think Kimberly, you're absolutely right. Sort of if on Buffy you've got sort of thematic villains like patriarchy and depression and sexual violence, and then in Angel it's like institutional wealth and power that will always cover up the sins of sort of, well, like in the pilot, the pilot villain is basically like if Harvey Weinstein was a vampire, and the law firm is there to cover his ass and to make sure that his victims are never found and that his sins never see the light of day.
The irony.
So I like that it doesn't normally, the plot device doesn't normally work for you, Zach, but here it does.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like, I mean, granted, I don't like the Watch. It's not like I'm like, ooh, I support the Watchers Council, but I like them as like a plot, like a thing within the plot.
Well, I don't like them acting like they're, the high and mighty of it all. When Wolfram and Hart, like, they don't ever say they're not evil. They're like,
right.
Yeah,
they're kind of like, whatever, this is what we do.
They like money.
Yeah.
So I like the straightforwardness of it.
That's fair. Yeah. And you're right. It is pretty straightforward. It's just like when we first meet Lindsay and he's like a named lawyer, he's just like, here's my card, and even gives it to Angel. Cause like, it's not like he's like, he doesn't give a shit, right? It's like, yes, I will defend you too. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I do like that. And I think they were smart once they realized, ooh, Lindsay and Lila, like, let's make them actual characters. Cause for a while it's like, we see Lindsay, but we don't see him again, I think till like mid-season 1. And we just see faceless lawyers, and it works better to have like reoccurring lawyers. And like, the guy from Lost, Daniel Day Kim, plays one of the reoccurring lawyers eventually.
Right.
I was literally just Googling. I was like, what is that guy's name? Because I was like, I can't wait in season 2 when he shows up.
Yeah.
When it just like, he's always like the hottest, guest star on any TV show ever.
He really is. And they have the other guy that played Bernard from Lost. Like, they have a lot of like, and I think that makes it more of like rather than like a faceless entity, like, oh, we can put some faces to it. And I think that's...
And I think it's getting back to what made Angel work sort of, into the end of season 1 and then beyond, is introducing more than 2 or 3 characters and giving us people that we can really connect to. And, whether it's heroes or villains or like lots and lots of people who live in the grey in between, it's when it starts to build out that world and, sort of making us imagine Los Angeles as this, sort of underworld where there's so many different levels and so many different dark, shady corners, and there's so much stuff going on. And, you've got characters who are constantly crossing paths with each other. That's when, like, I really, really, like, that's my shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else? I don't know. Does anyone have anything they want to say or anything they wanted us to chat about?
I'd love to talk about Connor.
Yeah, I was going to say we didn't talk about Connor.
I think my connection's dropping again. I'm really excited to go through this journey. I don't remember anything, I think just the standout episodes that I would have remembered as a kid, I think those are the only ones that are in my memory, and everything y'all are talking about is like going right over my head. So I'm really excited to get into these storylines.
But I do like that you remember the finale, Zach.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a big like episode jumper. So like even if I were to go and do a rewatch, I won't do it in order, I'll just like kind of jump around.
I talked about that on Twitter because someone was saying about Buffy rewatches, and I was like, oh no, if I'm doing a rewatch, if I'm not in the mood for a sad, I skip the sad episodes. I have to be in the right like mindset to be like, okay, I'm going to watch Joyce die. Like this.
I always skip the body. I just think it's my favorite episode of the entire series, but I have to skip it because it's just I'm never in that mood.
It's emotional terrorism.
Yes,
It is.
And to be a little mushy, I can't thank all of you enough. Like, it's very cool that I asked co-hosts thinking, I was like, well, probably half these people are going to say no. Summer, I didn't think you would say yes. And it was so cool to have everyone that I asked say yes. And it was like, made me feel nice. Like last night, I finished editing that video and I was watching all of you talk and I was like, this is fucking cool. I feel proud of this.
Hell
And
yeah.
like, I don't often feel that way. I'm like, as Zach and Kim know, I could be pretty negative about shit like that, but like, this was nice. And I'm really excited that I have all of you for this. So
I'm excited to do it.
Yay.
Oh, the
So
feeling is
excited.
mutual. I am so excited to be back and to get into a whole other show with you.
It was
Yes.
it was such a nice surprise. Philip's computer like broke towards the end of Buffy season 7. So he couldn't do a lot of the. It was, what was your last episode, Philip? Was it?
Oh God, I don't know. It was one of like the ones in the middle of season 7 where like who's to say?
And then like as I was emailing all of you, Philip DM'd me and was like, "Hey, I got a computer. I can host again." I was like, "Oh, great. Then you're in." But thank you all for listening. Really excited for you to hear our Angel coverage. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can support us on Patreon, where we're covering What If and Harley Quinn Season 2. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I'm at Ian X Carlos. Zach, where can everyone find you?
My Bloody Judy with Ian. If you search it on all the things, will pop up. Coffee and Tequila Show. If you search it on all the things, we will pop up.
And Summer.
At Summary Bishil on Instagram and at Summer Bishil1 on Twitter.
Philip.
So you can find me on Twitter at Philip_Ellis. That's Philip with 1 L, Ellis with 2. On Instagram at Philip Ellis. And because I haven't been on the show in a while, I can say I have written a book and it is coming out next year. It's called Love and Other Scams, and I will be spamming people with pre-order links as soon as they're out later this summer.
And I'll retweet the shit out of all of them. So, and Kim, where can everyone find you?
You can navigate your browser to KimberlyAnnSouthwick.com, which links to my Twitter at KimAnnJoSouth if you'd like to follow me there.
All right. Well, looking forward to Talk Angel with you, and thank you all for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Woo, bye.
Bye.